Okay, we're now at the entrance to Ir David, the city of David. We are outside of the walls of what is known as the Old City, but here Ir David is basically the older city of Jerusalem. Let's take a look.
When you leave the Old City and you come to the city of David, you only enter biblical Jerusalem. If we look at the picture of the city of David, the way that it's laid out, compared with the biblical version of the city of David, we see that in fact the old city of Jerusalem is not, in most cases, part of the actual biblical core. So now you're standing in the middle of where King David walked, and where Jeremiah roamed, where Isaiah was. And in fact, what we're going to be seeing now are elements that prove that in fact they were here. What you guys are walking on right now is a fortress which was rebuilt by the Hashmonaim, by the Maccabees, during the Hellenistic period. And very likely underneath this tower lies an earlier tower from the First Temple period.
So what's this?
This is the only known remains of the destruction of the First Temple itself. These stones represent which were a supporting wall for a very large structure on the top of the hill. What could be this heavy structure at the top of this hill?
6 months ago, the City of David Foundation, in conjunction with the Shalem Center, began excavating the hilltop. What was found under the earth is believed to be the palace of King David.
So this wall supported the palace of King David. Beneath it is a palace. This building is constructed into various rooms. This is one room behind us, and in fact you can see the stairs heading down. These stairs would have taken you up to a second floor that this column was supporting. The floor was above our heads.
Evidence of the great tragedy of the destruction of the temple and the city of Jerusalem is found by examining the color of the remains.
This is black.
Yeah, so this was burnt?
All this is burnt. This is all ash. All this is ash. You can feel it. It gives a white texture on your fingers when you pick it up. Okay? All of this ash is dated to 586 BCE. The prophet Jeremiah talks about the palaces of Jerusalem going up in flames. This was one such palace.
I've visited many excavations. Now mostly they show us the palaces, the thrones where the king sat. Now this is something different, right?
This is. If we look at the square stone over here with the hole in the middle of it, 99% of the people that ask, what is that, have absolutely no idea. That is one of the most important places of the palace. That is the bathroom. You're actually looking at the toilet. It was found years ago. 5 years ago, a team came to us from America and said, we want to study your toilet. Now, what is that soil? That soil told them the diet of the last 3 months of the people living here. What was the diet? Grass and worms. What happened? The Jews here were under exile for 3 years, under siege by the Babylonians. At the end of a 3-year siege, they had been withered down to eating grass and worms. Towards the end of this dig, we found one of the most miraculous things ever found in Israel. This is a copy. When the Babylonians captured this palace, they lit it on fire and everything burnt away. All the scrolls disappeared. But the seals were hardened like in a kiln. A volunteer, the story goes, pulled one out of the ground just behind me, brought it to the archaeologist. He licked his finger, wiped it away, and he read the name Gemariyahu ben Shaphan. He, in fact, is the scribe of the First Temple period, and his family are the line of scribes. And we find his seal right next to the royal palace. So what you can see here is the entire Bible comes alive. Jeremiah, Gemariyahu ben Shaphan, Yehuchal, King David. Here we can look around and we can see the destruction of the First Temple period, and amidst the destruction, life through Jeremiah the prophet and all the people that surrounded him.
The lower excavation, and especially the Palace of David excavation, which is not yet open to the public, are important as part of the ongoing debate about the history of Jerusalem.
Much of the world today, the archaeological world, says that Jerusalem and the connection to the Bible is a myth. It's a myth. In fact, even if it's not a myth, King David and Solomon are a myth, and Jerusalem was not a serious capital in the period of the 10th century. Eilat Mazar's findings come from the 10th century BCE, and the size of the structure show that in fact Jerusalem was a major thriving city, and give credit to King David and Solomon and the entire First Temple period.
On Tisha B'Av each year, a group reads the book of Eicha, Lamentations, at this site, the city of David.
And when you look at this, and you're reading of the destruction of the temple, and you see the ash from 586, Tisha B'Av becomes not some holiday that you fast on that happened 3,000 years ago. It becomes something that happened to you. And the energy from Tisha B'Av, we hope, will cause people to want to rebuild Jerusalem. And in fact, that's the process we're continuing here. It's a positive process of digging up our past and building areas for Jews to live in and to tour through, to show Jerusalem to the world, essentially to create a strong Israel.
Na